Hey subscribers, welcome back. We are going to be looking at rounding to two significant figures in this video. So you should have looked at rounding to one significant figure already, as well as rounding with nines. And then we're going to look at rounding with nines and two significant figures in the next video. So before we start, just a quick recap. Remember, when we're talking about significant figures, we are talking about the first significant figure being the first non-zero digit in a number. So as an example, for 2456, the first significant figure would be 2. The second significant figure is 4. What I want you to do here is have a look at these numbers that have been listed and then state the value of the first, second, and third significant figure. So I've done the first one for you already, so that's going to be 2, 4, 5. Do the rest, pause the video, and then we're going to do some practice with how to round. Okay, here come the answers. For the second number, the first significant figure is 1, and then 2, and then 5. For the third number, the first significant figure is 3. Now, there are some zeros here, and we said that the leading zeros do not count as significant, but any other digit is usually important depending on the number. So in this case, these zeros are important placeholders, so they are significant. So the second significant figure is the first 0, and the third significant figure is the third 0. Okay, the next one. So first significant figure is the first non-zero digit, that's a 1. And then the second significant figure is 2, the third significant figure also 2 again, but it's the second 2. Now for the next question, the first significant figure is 1, the second significant figure is that 0, and the third significant figure is 4. And then for the last example here, the first significant figure is that 1 here. So that's going to be 1 because it's the first non-zero digit. The second significant figure is 2. Now, the third significant figure here doesn't exist. There is a 0, an invisible 0 there. So we can say that that 0 might be there. So we're just going to write the 0, but we're referring to this one here. This isn't the type of question you would get in a test asking you to write the third significant figure if it didn't exist on the number, but this is just to let you know that the zeros on the in between other digits are important, and sometimes the zeros afterwards are as well. So for example, on the number 300, these zeros are significant. Okay, so let's do some practice on rounding to two significant figures. So the strategy we're going to use is the same as before, same as one significant figure. We are going to find the first significant figure here, that's going to be in the hundreds column, and the second significant figure is in the tens column. So essentially you're rounding this to the nearest 10. So on the number line, if you want to sketch one out, you can. You may not need one eventually, but if you think about the 10 times table, writing that out, what's the closest you can get to 451? Well, it would be 450 or 460. Now we can see here that 451 would be rounding down to 450. That 0 is important, it's not 45, it's 450. The other way to look at it is look at the decider. The decider tells you that you're going to round down to the nearest 10. So this is going to be approximate to 450. Okay, we'll try another example. 5,341 to two significant figures. So we know this is the first significant figure, and this is the second significant figure. So we are going to round to the nearest, the 3, it represents hundreds or 300. So we're rounding to the nearest 100. So in a quick sketch of a number line, we know that this is going to be somewhere between 5,300 and 5,400. Now if you look at the decider, it's telling you to round down, but also if you look at the number line, you know that 5,341 is going to be closer to 5,300. So remember, these are just sketches, they're not accurate drawings with a number line. It's just a rough sketch. You know that it's going to be closer to 5,300. So this will approximate to 5,300. Okay, next example, 9.873. So first significant figure, second significant figure. So we are rounding to the nearest 0.1 or the nearest tenth. So if we write the 0.1 times tables, how can we round this number? What would this be as close as possible to? So again, sketch a number line, which you may not need. You might be able to spot this already. The decider is telling us to round up. So the decider is the digit after the significant figure you're looking at. So 9.8, well, we've got 9.8 and 9.9. So in this case, that's going to round up to a 9. So 9.9 is your answer. And remember, we don't write equals, we write approximately. And this is to one significant figure. We can put that in brackets in an answer, just to be clear. Sorry, that should say two significant figures. We can put that in our answer just to tell the examiner what we're done. Okay, next one. Round to two significant figures. So the first non-zero digit is here. That's your first significant figure. And then this is your second significant figure. Now we are going to round, the decider is telling us we're going to round up, and the 4 is actually, if you look at the place value, it's 0.001. So that's to the nearest thousandth. So 1,000. So we can write this as 0.034, 0.035. And if we look at this, we know that on a number line, 0.0347 is going to be closer to 0.035, because the decider is telling us to round up, but also on a number line here. Now it may help you to actually add an invisible 0 here, just to kind of think of it as 347. Is it closer to 340 or 350? Strictly speaking, it's not 350, but you can see why it's easier to see that. If you imagine that invisible 0, 347 is closer to 350. So the answer here is this approximates to 0.035 if we're rounding to two significant figures. Okay, next one. 0.3706. Now I want you to have a go with some of these questions. The hints about which digits are significant have been taken off here. For the next few questions, I want you to just pause the video after each question, and then just consider this to be some quick practice. So here comes the answer for this question. 3, 2, 1. Right, first significant figure, second significant figure. The decider is 0, so that means we're going to round down, or at least we're not going to round up. So we are rounding to the nearest 0.01. So it's either going to be 0.37 or 0.38. This, on a number line, you can see 0.3706 is going to be closer to that. So approximately 0.37. That's your answer. Next question. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, here comes the answer. First significant figure, second significant figure. The decider is 0, so we are rounding to the nearest 0.01. So in this case, it's going to be 0.88 and 0.89. And we can see that this is closer to 0.88. Is our answer. Next one, pause the video, have a go. Okay, here comes the answer. So first significant figure, second significant figure. Second significant figure is 0. The place value of that 0 is hundreds. It just means we've got 0 hundreds. So we're rounding to the nearest 100. So either this is going to be 7,000 or 7,100 or 7,200, 300, etc. But we know it's going to be in between these two. And our decider is 7, so it means we're going to round up to 7,100. I hope that you're getting these right as you practice. Here's the next question. Try this. Okay, here comes the answer. The second significant figure is 0, and that's in the hundreds column, just like the last question, but the decider is 2. So because it's 4 or below, means we're not going to round up. So to the nearest 100, it's either going to be 7,000 or 7,100. Because we are not rounding up, we're going to be going down. So 7026 is going to be closer to 7,000. So 7,000 is your answer to 2 significant figures. Here's the next question. 7,000 to 2 significant figures. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, here comes the answer. First significant figure, second significant figure. That's in the hundreds column. So to the nearest 100, 7,000 is actually just going to be 7,000. It doesn't change. Okay, next question. 9.72. Try this. Okay, here comes the answer. First significant figure, second significant figure. So the decider is 2. Now, the place value here is 0.1. So we want to round this to the nearest 0.1. So if you think about the 0.1 times table, we're going to have 9.6, 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, 10, 10.1, etc. You wouldn't normally write this out, but you can see 9.72 would belong in between these two numbers. So 9.72. And because the decider is 2, means we're going to round down. So 9.7 is our answer. And remember, this is approximately, and it's just write 2SF in brackets. Okay, next question. 97 to 2 significant figures. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, here's your answer. First significant figure, second significant figure. So because the 7 is here, technically you could write 0.0. There's an invisible 0.000 here. Those you wouldn't write. And to 2 significant figures, well, it's either going to be 97 or 98. And technically we're going to write 96 here. We actually don't need to round this, it's just going to be 97. So that is 97 to 2 significant figures. Okay, next question. 907.2, try this. Alright, here we go with the answer. The second significant figure is this 0, which is in the tens column. So we're rounding this to the nearest 10. The decider is telling us to go up. So we've got 900, 910. 907 would be somewhere here on the number line, and we're going to round up. So if you use the number line, that's fine, or if you use the decider method, that's also fine. So this is going to be 910 to 2 significant figures. Now I want you to notice that we do not write the 0.2 there. We have to look at what's on the number line here. 910 is the answer. We don't write 0.2. Okay, so here you're going to do a true or false. So pause the video and then have a go deciding whether these have been done correctly or not. If they are correct, great, give them a tick. If they're wrong, correct them, and then I'm going to go through these with you in 5 seconds. Okay, here comes the answers. So first of all, 543, the second significant figure is 4, and that's in the tens column. So we're rounding to the nearest 10, which would be 540, that's correct. Question B, 4 is in the hundreds column. Rounding to the nearest 100, 7,451 is actually closer to 7,500. So this is wrong, it should be 5. Or let's write this out here, so 7,500 should be the answer. The decider is also 5, which is telling you to round up. Okay, 3.551. The second significant figure is this 5 here, which is in the 0.1 or the tenths column. So we're rounding to the nearest 0.1. 3.5, the decider is another 5 after that, so it's actually going to go up to 3.6. And that's going to be your answer. The other mistake that's happened here is these zeros would not be written anyway. So there's two glaring mistakes with this one. Question D. The first significant figure is 4, the second one is 8. The decider is telling us not to round up. Now we are rounding to the nearest 0.0001. It's the nearest 10,000th. So this is going to be 0.0048. This person has rounded up. If that was a 5 or above, then this answer would be correct, but it's not. So this is wrong. It should just be 0.0048. That's the two significant figures. And then the last one, 0.1849. So the second significant figure is the 8, which is in the hundredths column. So rounding to the nearest hundredth, so 0.18 is correct. However, these two zeros make it wrong because we should not be writing them at all, even though technically it's the same number. 0.180 is the same as 0.18. Because it's a rounding question and it says round it to two significant figures, that would be wrong in an exam. It has to be exactly 0.18. Okay, so the answers are all just here, just for your reference. Otherwise, let's move on to the next bit of the lesson. Round the following, let's do some practice. It's only 3 questions just to practice, and then there's going to be a fill in the blanks. So have a go with this. You probably do this in your head. You may or may not need a number line. So second significant figure, the decider is telling you to go up. So rounding to the nearest 1. So 76, 77. This is going to round up. 76.5 becomes 77 to two significant figures. Okay, next example. Second significant figure is the 6. The decider is a 3. So we're rounding to the nearest 0.01. So 0.76 and 0.77 is going to be one of these, is going to be the answer. Because we don't round up, the decider is a 3, so it's just going to be 0.76 to 2SF. Okay, last example here, 0.0786. So here's the second significant figure, and that's going to be 0.001. That's to the nearest thousandth, and so that's going to give us 0.078, 0.079. Now, because the decider is a 6, we're going to round up, so it's going to be 0.079. Right, I hope that practice was useful for you. We're just going to do a quick exercise for you to try by yourself. Pause the video and have a go, and then the answers are going to appear in a few seconds. Okay, here come the answers in 3, 2, 1. Those are the answers. I hope you got them correct. If not, you might need to go back and review some of the work from the video. There's 2 more things to do in this video. We're going to do a fill in the blanks here. Some of these have more than one answer, and then we're going to do a quick exercise at the end. So have a go with these, and I'm going to go through the answers in a second. Okay, here come the answers. They're appearing now. I'm not going to talk through all of these just yet, but if you have a look at the answers, you can reverse engineer the reasons for it. Okay, last thing, here is an exercise for you to practice rounding to significant figures, worded questions. Pause the video and have a go, and the answers are going to appear in a second. Okay, here come the answers. So 43.8 to two significant figures is going to be 44%. When you round the number 32,641, that would become 33,000. Question 3, you're going to get 8.6 million and 6,700. Question 4, you rounded to two decimal places instead of two significant figures. And the last two examples, 25,500 and 26,499. Alright, hope that was useful. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. The next video is going to be looking at how we deal with nines when we're rounding with two significant figures. And if you can do that, then you can pretty much do anything to do with rounding and significant figures. Smash the like button, hit subscribe.